Welcome everybody to the Chop It Up with Tony podcast. Stopping on by real quick just to kind of give an update. I know we've been waiting to do our first episode for quite some time, but if you guys did not know, May 21st at 10 o'clock next Wednesday, it's gonna be nice. Drop my first episode of I was gonna say my last my last podcast, but gonna drop my first episode of the season. It's gonna be nice. Hope you guys tune in. It's gonna be a great episode. Got good guests, fun conversations, put it that way. Before we get into all that, I do want to stop on in and explain purposely what's the new podcast about, and why the change. Obviously, the change is because the groups. Before I was with a team. Now my brother and I, we kind of stepped away. If you guys don't know, Roll It Up with Zach is on YouTube and Spotify on there. He has cool ass guests. They come on there if you guys are into cannabis and other, activities in that nature. Come on by and enjoy. They have some fun, talk about, fun stuff, put it that way. All right. So really good time. So hope you guys tune in for that. But with me, I kind of went on the conversation side of things, right? Like to have a good conversation with people, get things out there and just talk about life stories. I think is really what it comes down to. It be fun for everybody because everyone has a story. Not everyone's heard. Social media may be, all over the place and available for everyone to kind of express themselves, of course, and explain things. But a lot of times people just need to conversate in order to get the right words out. You find yourself learning more when you conversate with someone compared to just doing random things here and there. And then to put all that in perspective is sometimes difficult because the message you may want to give out may not be really what is what you're trying to do. And everything with social media could be scattered. So it changes, right? But it's a good thing to kind of sit down, have a one-on-one conversation and just talk about things. Is what I like. And it takes back to like what we used to watch on television, right? We used to watch Maury. Definitely a big fan of Jerry Springer. Now that was ranchy TV, of course, crazy TV at the time. But to kind of get a person's perspective and life story out there is kind of in that same aspect. Tonight shows, sometimes they have a conversation with the person, the interviewing or whatever case it be. But sometimes the message gets lost because everyone's interested in that particular thing they're maybe promoting or something like that. It's good to promote, of course, if you're doing some things, but you also want to get down and understanding who you are. So I think that's one of the big key of the reason for the podcast, but also too, something that I feel comfortable with of, sharing with my kids. I got 4 children. Teaching them life is obviously a big struggle, because I may not have all the right answers. I definitely don't. I don't believe and try to put out there and say I do, because I do not. And the good thing is I'm willing to talk to you, willing to sit down with you and just understand. Now, whether or not I will believe what you believe at the end of the day is a whole different story, but at least I can understand where you're coming from and respect that side of things. So that's why with the podcast, it's something what definitely I want to do for, leave a digital footprint for the children, for my kids, because at least who knows if I'll be here in the future? Who knows I'll be here tomorrow? Who knows I'll be here next year? No one knows. But something like that, I would love to leave behind just for them to look back and see, oh, this is what happened, right? I think that's really a cool thing to do. And I think it's going to be very meaningful for me, of all things. And I will love to just know that at least when they feel lost, feel like they need some answers or whatever case to be, and they wonder, hey, what did my dad do in this situation? What was he about and stuff? It kind of gives them an opportunity to go back and tune in. And sometimes when you hear someone who you lost, like a voice of theirs, and just see their mannerisms, who they are, their eyes, their whatever case it be, whatever it does, it's just something when you see that person again doing something that you were so used to seeing quite often, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And then when you see it, it's a flashback of emotions and feelings and stuff. And hopefully that can happen. But who knows? I think just that's my goal moving forward, is to have fun with this, enjoy myself, have good conversations. Sometimes maybe get personal, because a lot of times you want to get their feelings out there. Going to therapy may not be the right fit for them, but having a conversation with someone else just to kind of understand what they want to do, where they want to go, helps. So hopefully it can. And if you guys want to stop on by too as well, for those who are fans, DM, pop on here real quick, send a message, have a good conversation about it. We definitely do a virtual chat. Have no problem. Have no problem. And I love to sit down and know who you are as a person. So the first bit of obviously the podcast and the episodes will be whoever the guest is first off just their story, where they come from, what do they do, what do they want to share of what occurred and stuff. And then ultimately the goal is just to kind of at the end discuss how everyone deals with particularly anxiety. I think is a big key that's been going on, of emotions, which then affects our health, right? I think especially I'm a big advocate for men's health. Mental awareness is always a big thing that I want, to kind of shed light on and have conversations about, because being a man is a struggle as it is. And then having responsibilities doesn't get any easier. But sometimes we may not, obviously, we're so keen in on just do what we need to do on a consistent basis of taking care of who we need to take care of, making sure our responsibilities are met. But sometimes having a conversation of just knowing that what you're doing is the right thing is really going to be helpful. So that's why I like shedding light on that perspective. And I think that would be an awesome thing to see from yourself, to kind of be like, you know what, I am doing something right. Because a lot of times we may be questioning that. We may be sitting in the car, and just before we even step foot in the house, you could be that person just like myself. I got to get myself mentally right to get in that house before I do. I got to sit in there. I got to contemplate on what's going to happen, how I'm going to feel, who's going to come ask for a question for help for homework, a question to go outside and play, a question, can you take me to the park? A question, hey, babe, can you cook? Any of that stuff can build that sense of anxiety from a person, not just a man, but generally a person, because man or woman. And it fluctuates of feelings, and it's hard to get back to focus and be like, all right, I just gotta go. And a lot of times you may be that person just says, oh, I just go in the house and I just get things done. You might, but if you ever notice you're feeling some type of way, there's some feelings that goes in there, and you can't not admit that those feelings kind of make you think, make you, hot, cold, sick sometimes. It's hard. It's hard, put it that way. And I know for a fact in the past, I grew up early 90s, right? I was 88 baby. So my knowledge of the 80s isn't there, but me being a 90s baby, but also to having parents who lived in the 80s, lived through the 80s, lived through the 70s, shed light on myself. And you kind of get an idea of that wasn't really the big conversation of in the past. And it really wasn't. Talking about things like this wasn't keen. It was just get things done, move forward. That's it. That's all. But I think the best thing about now and then is, yeah, having that work ethic from the past is good for the future. But also refining that and getting the tools in for yourself to be better and to do better is to be able to have conversations like that. Because at least, like I said before, at least it gives you that sense of direction of what you want to do. But also gives you, a sense of the right question that you've been wanting to ask yourself that you really couldn't get out of, right? And then when that question comes about, now you kind of want to answer it and figure out how can you answer that. So now you're thinking about it. Now you're like, you know what? I've been doing this for so long, and I didn't even realize that this was a question of mine. I didn't even realize that I really didn't even know this was there. So once you find that out, get things done. And that's I think that's a big thing, and that's a big key for everyone's future for success also too. My belief in that part. Not saying that I am. I'm definitely not, but I think it's helping me kind of go in the direction that it's what I want to do for sure. It's definitely what I feel comfortable with. It's definitely something that I I want to leave behind that'll make me proud and say that I did that. Like that's cool. So hopefully you guys can tune in. Hopefully that kind of sheds some light on what this podcast is going to be about for the future. And much appreciated if you guys do come on board. Watch the videos, enjoy yourselves, have a good time. Like you could definitely find here on YouTube, but you also can find me on TikTok, definitely, as well as I was gonna say Instagram, but no, just TikTok and right now currently YouTube. So we'll see you soon. But as far as the next couple of episodes, the first episode, like I said before, May 21st, 10 a.m. First episode drops. So hope you guys tune in. Hope you guys like, share, subscribe. See you soon.